AI slop and creepy algo. We have covered AI image slop before, but since then, the AI videos have massively improved and have overtaken the pictures, being spread across all the social medias and going viral. People usually incorporate the AI clips into an already existing video/media to either expand it or to make a new meme. Everything is getting an AI makeover, from your favorite television show to classic films, video clips receiving millions of views. But do people love it or hate it? Well, as of now, it seems to be a mix of both, as many don't know how to feel about it being used or incorporated into their favorite thing. Though most are just brain-numbing, fun things to watch that have no coherent meaning, some could actually be very dark, and you wouldn't even know, because you would have had to watch some gore-type videos to see what they were actually masking behind a Minion mask. Yeah, these types of videos are simply gore videos or brutal war footage, and most surface-level people may not even know it, but you would have to be oblivious to not see what is actually going on, as the comments always reference which video is being used for the AI makeover, going into detail at times about the either war footage or cartel vid that they are covering up. Is this simply brain rot memes going dark, or something much sinister, trying to normalize this in kids' content? There's a common argument made on whether the footage should even be kept online in the first place, and how it has some journalistic value to warn others of realities like this. But then again, going around and pulling something like this on people's recorded last moments is wicked, but goes to show what the internet is slowly turning into. And it's not surprising whatsoever after videos like McNuts are animated and memed the hell out of, as many have reported watching gore vids on Instagram and constantly being shown that type of imagery on their suggested feed and homepages, even though they have clicked the not interested button and avoided anything like that completely. There are some on social media also pushing the narrative that it's actually you choosing to watch those videos if any of them are suggested to you on your account, because you want to watch them subconsciously, as the algorithm is noticing every movement and choice you take on the app, meaning that you most likely do prefer clicking on those videos and have started a chain reaction due to the fact that you have clicked on the first one in the first place. The other side, those who actually experience this, say that even though they have completely abstained from going on that side of Instagram, the social media app algorithm still calls back to them and tries to get them hooked to whatever problematic niche they are currently trying to avoid on the app. So is the algo sentient and smart enough to coerce a human to go down these dark gore rabbit holes like these? Well, Meta came out on February 26, 2025 and admitted that this was indeed happening, not exactly admitting that the algo was an evil being trying to show disturbing things like gore and such, but they stated that it was an error and that they fixed it, after tons of users started to speak up about the recent trend and the dark disturbing reels that were suggested alongside their once all family-friendly stuff. We have fixed an error that caused some users to see content in their Instagram Reels feed that should not have been recommended. We apologize for the mistake. This is just a strange response. Why would those types of videos have been up in the first place and then suggested if they prefer not to suggest it in the first place? It is being protected to avoid media controversy? For those who specifically seek it out, almost being a hidden algorithm of sorts that you would have to discover yourself, leads to a lot of more questions as to why the algorithm chose to present it to the masses. Is it getting depressed or something, or does Instagram know that they cater to people who love this niche on the app and cannot afford to lose them to more hidden platforms like Telegram? Either which way it is, the thing is working. Her son's on display. There's a story being spread around about a Texas mother who claims that her deceased son, Christopher Todd Eric's body, is being put up for display in a Las Vegas bodies exhibit. He passed away in 2012, allegedly taking his own life, although his mother believes this to be a lie and that foul play was involved after they found cyanide in his body, leading her to claim that he would have never done such a thing and that she believed someone else had poisoned him, and that it was most likely his own father and stepfamily in Texas who he'd been staying with. Posting on Facebook, "It's obvious to us now that Chris was never cremated. The paternal grandmother, Pat Eric, insisted on paying for Chris's funeral. Now, we know that was a trick so she could take control of Chris's body. Chris received no funeral, no one to pray over him. Chris was presented to my family For viewing only, he was lying on a hospital stretcher, covered up to his chin with a sheet and red blanket. Supposedly, she alleges that his father donated his body to be put up for a display in a Vegas exhibit in order to cover up his crime. When comparing her son's picture alongside the display, you can start to see the resemblance is pretty strong, although it could also just be a huge coincidence and the display so happens to resemble him somewhat, causing this grieving mother to start seeing her son in the display more and more because she deeply misses him, and this is the closest thing to immortalizing him, believing that he is being put up for display in Vegas. But she also brings her own evidence, sharing photos of his autopsy and how alike they are to the body in the exhibit. She would also post other pieces of info, including some dark secrets about the family and how the stepmother is on a government watch list. And remember the whole cyanide thing? Apparently his signature for the order was forged. Posting this is my recorded phone call to Amazon to verify who actually bought the cyanide poison which killed Chris. The grandmother, Pat Eric, provided this receipt to Midlothian PD, claiming Chris purchased the poison. According to Amazon, this receipt was forged. I brought this information to police, but they never responded to this. Here's the call that confirms that yes, the cyanide that he supposedly bought himself was actually sent to his own stepmother, not him.
Sent again. The email confirmation was sent to ericpat@sbcglobal.net.
The description reading, Christopher Eric was 23 years old when he died allegedly of cyanide poisoning on November 10, 2012 in Midlothian, Texas, Ellis County. The attached documents in this video was provided to police by Patty Eric, who altered the receipt by adding the victim's email address and hiding her own. As of March 17, 2016, no charges have been filed. She ultimately believes that her son was used to do experiments on. She also posted on her Facebook, "This is a video I made regarding the behavior modification center where Christopher's dad locked him away for 2 years. 22 of these kids placed on there are now also dead. Suspiciously, many of these kids messaged me and comforted me after Chris died. These were good kids. They were scared. They noticed their classmates were dropping dead. Their obituaries steadily rolled across my Facebook feed. I have screenshots of what appears to me to be the plastinated bodies of one of these boys, possibly 2 boys. Additionally, my son's body is on public display at a plastination dead body museum. It is proven human medical experiments were conducted at this location, with a large radio tower and injection wells located in the ground surrounding the boys' dorm, which sat feet away from Western Rubber Manufacturing Plastics at Texas. This is the apartment lease I found inside Chris's apartment, dated 12/01/2009. Chris was not working. I asked him who was paying for his apartment, but it was clearly intended to be a secret. Chris said it was part of his early inheritance. I didn't understand, but did not want to be nosy and stick my nose into his dad's money. I assumed Pat Eric was paying for Chris's apartment. Now we know Pat was not paying for his apartment. This apartment appears to be payments to Chris for his participation in Human Medical Research Agreement. It was a 27th-month lease. What do you guys think? Am I the only one skeptical of Druski and his hesitancy to talk about the Diddy situation? On number 489 of TBW and another recent pod he did with Gillian Wallow, Druski was asked about the Diddy situation. When Theo asked it, Druski kinda disregarded it, saying, yeah, I don't really know anything about that. What have you heard? Almost like he's trying to deflect. And when Gilly questioned Druski about attending one of Diddy's parties, Druski again tried to play it off and said, oh yeah, I went, but it wasn't one of those parties, haha. I'm not saying for certain that Druski is hiding anything. I just think his rapid ascent to mainstream media was almost forced. I literally could not go on any social last year without seeing Druski, not to mention he attended the most recent all-white party, which is basically a giant circle jerk for major celebrities. Here he is with the biggest creep of all, Michael Rubin, who is suspected by many, including Ye, FKA Kanye West, to be a soul-eating, sodomizing industry predator. Here's some other pics of Rubin, again grabbing and hugging Lil Baby, a popular rapper whose whole persona is supposed to be the tough street guy, in very sensual ways. Maybe I'm connecting dots that really aren't there, but in my relevant opinion, there's something off about Druski. TLDR, I think Druski is an industry plant and is some way or another involved with Diddy, but doesn't want to admit it for obvious reasons. Druski is an NBA 2K24, and that alone makes me believe the industry plant idea. This was posted a year ago. Interestingly enough, his name would appear next to P. Diddy's again recently, in the same lawsuit Diddy is involved in right now. He was added in, claiming to have participated. He had allegedly knocked the wind out of somebody by jumping on them after being oiled up, all while Diddy watched. All this has caused a flood of Druski and Diddy things to resurface, including a Druski show that Diddy had funded through his company Revolt. This, alongside the whole idea that Druski is an actual industry plant due to all the wild connections he was able to make in a short period of time that he accumulated. He would ultimately respond to the allegations, saying this allegation is a fabricated lie. I wasn't a public figure in 2018. I was broke, living with my mom without any connections to the entertainment industry at the time of this allegation. So the inclusion of my name is truly outlandish. My heart breaks for actual victims of abuse, but I'm fully confident that the evidence will expose this falsehood and the individuals who are maliciously trying to game the legal system to peddle false narratives. But what do you guys believe? Is Druski guilty of all these things, and is he involved in the Diddy situation more than he leads on? Or is this simply a mashup and mix-up that basically he got himself into because he was trying to get famous and made an alliance with a not so reputable guy? 400 shoes. Mexico is known for its food, warm beaches, history, and culture, but like any other country, it has its dark side, that being the cartels. Many people know the power the cartel wields in Mexico, but don't know the extent it goes to, involving not only citizens, but also people in government positions. From allowing them to roam free without any problems, to helping them out on their missions, the connections are deep, to the point that a lot of Mexicans don't even trust local police or military prisons. And you may be surprised, but they are abundant in rich parts of Mexico, riding around in military vehicles, offering a sense of security in a place known for its narco violence. But for what reasons? Here's one. In the Mexican state of Jalisco, a ranch was found with 400 pairs of shoes belonging to victims that had their lives taken by the cartel. All this found by an organization that seeks to find answers for those who have vanished thanks to the drug business. They received a tip that led them to this nightmare scene, where they found bullet casings and burnt parts, as well as large ovens underground that were most likely used to get rid of the people and evidence. Piles of clothes, backpacks, suitcases. It looks like something out of those 1940s German camps. Truly sickening. The motives may also lie in these areas, as Santa Muerte, Saint Death statues can be found all around these areas. They were being praised. They praised death. A death cult almost. Makes you wonder where the rest of those 15,000 reported missing people in Jalisco are. One theory put out there is that the site was the training camp for the cartel Jalisco Nueva Generacion, a place to train and learn how to exterminate people in the name of your cartel. Casey Anthony is back in the form of a TikTok, utterly insane. If you do not know, she was accused of ending Kaylee Anthony's life, her 2-year-old daughter. Back in 2008, the prosecution alleged Casey wished to free herself from parental responsibilities and took her daughter's life. Casey's defense team, led by Jose Baez, mainly focused on challenging the prosecution's evidence, calling much of it fantasy forensics. The defense stated that Kaylee had drowned accidentally in the family swimming pool and that George had disposed of the body. A simple but tragic accident that they were too scared to confront, so they just hid her type of scenario. In a shocking turn of events though, on July 5th, 2011, a jury found Casey not guilty of first degree, but guilty of 4 misdemeanor counts of providing false information to a law enforcement officer, which is just weird and raises many red flags. No, they should have got her. With credit for time served, Casey was released on July 17, 2011. A Florida appellate court overturned 2 of the misdemeanor convictions in 2013. This led to outrage all over the nation and bled to social media, where she went viral as America's most hated. Her prison phone calls were heard by the public, where they found out how entitled and demented she actually was, not having a care in the world about her daughter and speaking like she did nothing wrong to her parents. She wanted every ounce of pity. It was an extremely bizarre scenario she put everyone in. Well, now she's on TikTok like nothing happened, and people are liking it. Life can't be this dystopian yet, right? It's too early. Though the majority opinion is for her to get booted off the app and to overall just rain a terror of hate on this woman, as she deserves it. Hip-hop is ruining the younger generation. This theory is as old as dinosaurs and was even a talking point in the 90s, usually pushed by non-fans of the genre. It proposes that rap/hip-hop as a genre was invented to be evil and promotes violence. Not only that the glorification of all those things in hip-hop videos is the detriment of black people, but also that it's got a much deeper and satanic roots, although many call this out as racism due to the fact that not all hip-hop is the same and they are generalizing it. Just like any other genre, there will be people who are on the opposites of the spectrum. While a rapper like Future may rap about doing lean and popping pills, you have artists on the other side of hip-hop rap about everyday life, eating healthy, and how to invest properly and wisely, like Larry June. Though even today this theory still strongly persists, with hit rappers like Kendrick Lamar being pushed into this narrative, although he mainly touches on introspective subject matters with depth, even in one instance being called out by Fox News, where Geraldo Rivera said, "This is why I say that hip-hop has done more damage to young African Americans than racism in recent years." Kendrick would respond to this call out on his song DNA off the album Damn. But how about the Lil Pumps of the world? Are they ruining this generation due to their mind-melting lyrics? Well, not exactly, as he has already fallen off and sold out to the highest bidder. Wait until they hear of Memphis Rap though, and their rap sigils, which are mixtapes that are said to have actual audio of people dying, as well as satanic themes calling out spirits. These sigils are said to be powerful in cassettes, as they originally came, alongside creepy album art. Here's an explanation of supposed sigils. Both of these tapes, if you can find originals, have what you're looking for. The idea is sort of that because the artists/producers committed several murders and the location where they took place holds a leftover soul, energy from lives that were taken, the lingering energy of known tragedies in the area goes back as far as the history of the United States, with some big Indian massacres, then onto slavery, then civil war, and then about 100 years more of violence until you get to the 1990s, where Memphis was within the top 5 murder capitals in the country, I believe. Basically, if you believe the Luciferian idea that it's possible to take a life and manifest that energy into something that becomes real in a sort of ritual, there would be some kind of medium between the spirit world and the world we know to be true, the life energy / the energy / the demon / the magnetic taping in a cassette. Memphis Rap Sigils refers to the worship of 8 tracks that had mysterious properties imbued into them via horrorcore Memphis hip-hop, such as my copy of End of Destruction. Though there are many that oppose this idea completely and say that the sigil thing was all made up and basically part of a stunt to make Memphis music more satanic looking or creepy, and in reality most of these rappers were probably raised Christian and are still Christian today, only using the satanic imagery to boost their selves and basically try to create a sort of theme or aesthetic, contributing the whole legend of the sigil to a old 4chan post and basically saying that it all came from the internet and that none of it came from real life. The Tophia Chu story. So this is in reference to the Instagram story that the famous creator Tophia Chu posted onto her account, basically saying that her brother was shot and her mother as well in a carjacking. She says this very frantically and in a scared, confused state, and it's really creepy once you listen to it, knowing that the news would come out later to confirm that indeed he was a casualty in this carjacking, and the mother as well, who is in critical condition, with Tophia getting out alive without any scratches or any harm done to her. Supposedly, she believed that it was all a big prank and that she was being confronted by a couple of internet trolls, until finally realizing that they were being serious and wanted the vehicle. That's when she ran out and her brother and mother stayed in the car, where the situation would soon escalate to a more deadly event, where Brother Chu would pass away. The most interesting thing about this though is that in a previous recent story she had posted, she alleges that a man was threatening to take her life. as well as crying and being upset about internet drama that she had gotten herself into. Even after this whole story going viral about her brother passing and her mother being in critical condition, she's still facing a lot of criticism about her past actions, with people saying that they still don't feel any ounce of pity for her as she drove herself to this point. They allege that she refuses to grow up and get a full-time job, as well as being weirdly obsessed with young Asian boys. She was overall just being problematic and saying really strange, inappropriate stuff about the age of consent. Saying stuff like, I mean, age is just a number, in the comment section of a video. Either way, her running straight to her Instagram account and recounting the events of what occurred on that day and how she saw her brother pass away right in front of her is rather traumatic and dystopian, knowing that this clip will be forever living here on the internet. Was Michael Jackson killed by the higher-ups, or was his death accidental cause? This is a very controversial topic, but if I had my say in this, I would say he was murdered. He was worth a lot of money, as he owned some catalog of the Beatles. This would have made MJ worth more dead than alive. AEG also has to be part of the blame, hiring Conrad Murray as the doctor. How are you a doctor with a degree who doesn't know how to administer CPR? Simply, Michael was murdered for his wealth and how much of an impact he had. That's what I think, but I would want to hear the opinions of the rest of you. A lot of people do think that he was killed. I don't mean to offend, but I'm part of the crowd that thinks that even if he didn't die that day, he was going to die soon / young / within 10 years if he proceeded the way that he did. So regardless if the higher ups killed him or not, he was probably going to die eventually if he didn't get help. It does raise my eyebrow that he was suspicious of something happening to him, and also that the doctor was on the phone for, what was it, an hour? But to avoid some movie like Conspiracy, I just go with the facts. He had issues. I think Conrad Murray was responsible for his death, but didn't intentionally kill Michael. I do, however, strongly believe the higher-ups were responsible for the downfall of MJ, the media slander, the false allegations, the racist nicknames, the vultures around him, everything. I highly doubt MJ's death was any kind of conspiracy. MJ was a serious drug addict. He was caught in a vicious cycle of chronic stress. He was likely extremely mentally unwell and was unfortunately surrounded by a lot of yes men. Worst of all, he used intravenous anesthetic for years as a so-called sleeping aid. General anesthesia doesn't even induce sleep. It shuts off consciousness, which is in essence taking someone to the precipice of death, as consciousness is something that's not really understood by science. No one actually knows how anesthesia works. They just know that it does. It's why anesthesia is such a highly controlled medical procedure that requires a whole team of highly trained people to monitor and oversee. Prescribing and administering someone general anesthesia as a means to sleep is an insane breach of sworn Hippocratic oath to do no harm. But like I said, MJ was a powerful person surrounded by a lot of yes men willing to do whatever he demanded. The toxicology screening and the coroner's report also revealed an insane cocktail of benzodiazepines and antiarrhythmic medications to counteract the tachycardia. That, coupled with general anesthesia and no trained anesthetic team overseeing his medical care, is a recipe for an inevitable death. Murray likely couldn't have saved MJ via CPR. He's not even an anesthetist, so he shouldn't have been meddling with administering that kind of procedure. MJ would have needed an entire team of people working to bring him back, and that's even assuming that he could even have been brought back from the amount of strain on his heart all these drugs would have caused. Furthering this, MJ was an insane amount of debt and had taken on a grueling back-to-back schedule of 50 residency shows that he has in no state to physically withstand. He had not died the way he did, he likely would have collapsed and died during the show's run from his body simply giving in. We will eventually have AI-only generated content, and no one will know what's real and what isn't. Think about it, AI will get so good that we won't know the difference between it and real posts. This will cause a universal collapse of what the truth is and will enable authoritarians to take complete control because no one will know it's happening until it's too late. About a decade or more ago, I said we'd return to a time when you wouldn't believe something unless you witnessed it in person or a very trusted friend or family member told you what they witnessed. Back to news via the picket fence and yellow journalism, drawing of sea monsters and strange land beasts, mass hysteria and war based on wisps of reality. That's where Terminator and Matrix got it wrong. AI won't have to take physical form to take over. It could just feed us false lies through imaginary news stories theories and narratives. This isn't even a conspiracy theory anymore, it's common knowledge. When it gets to this point, I will say goodbye to tech, go back to landline and the older ways that we used to be. Coincidence or not, just wondering if anyone else thinks it seems a little sus that only about a week ago the Chinese military was sitting off the east coast of Australia. They did a live fire training, caused a bunch of noise and upset people, then left. Then days later a cyclone forms on the east coast, pretty later than most of them, and takes a path much further south than they have before. Very rare for it to come down this far. Could it be possible China tested some kind of weather weapon to see how it would go and distract everyone with this fire exercise to draw the attention away from them trying to test this weather generator / control? Does anyone else think it's a coincidence? Yes, you're probably right in my opinion, although maybe not a weather weapon. It might not have been an actual cyclone. I think this same thing happened in Cyprus on December 5th of 2024. China's Air Force and Russia's Special Flight Squadron were in the Mediterranean Sea just one day after Putin boasting about his Orshnik middle, which is like an ICBM but creates no mushroom cloud. At that same time, a US drone, Fort 15, started going haywire and squawking emergency code is 7700. The next day there was an earthquake that caused explosions in 2 different cities in Cyprus. Private space companies are smuggling secret payloads under our noses. SpaceX, Blue Origin, Rocket Lab, and even Amazon are launching satellites all the time now, but not every payload they send up is publicly listed. Some are classified, some go missing, and some, well, they might not even be what we're told they are. This is a speculation with actual evidence that something shady is happening with private space launches. The lost satellites that never really disappeared. Remember Zuma, the classified US government satellite that SpaceX launched in 2018? Officially, it was a failure. Supposedly, it never made it to orbit, but amateur space trackers never saw any debris, and NORAD never confirmed a crash. It just vanished. This isn't an isolated case. Multiple launches over the years have included undisclosed secondary payloads, extra mass that isn't accounted for in official records. Where are these things really going? Unregistered satellites sending mysterious signals. Independent radio operators, people who track satellite signals as a hobby, have picked up strange intermittent transmissions from objects in orbit that don't match any known registry. These aren't just random noises. Some of them follow structured military communication patterns. So who owns them, and why aren't they officially logged anywhere? Private space companies and military black ops. SpaceX's Starshield division is openly working on military projects, and Amazon's Cooper satellites have been rumored to include extra unlisted payloads. And let's not forget the US Space Force's deep connections with private companies. Here's the thing, governments used to own space. Now private companies run the show, but they still work hand in hand with the military. There's zero public accountability for what they're actually launching. So what's really going on? If these companies are smuggling secret payloads, it could mean a few things: covert military operations, spy satellites, space-based weapons, or something even bigger, a hidden global surveillance network that goes beyond what they admit to. Early off-world industrialization, factories, research labs, or even military bases in orbit. And here's the kicker: whenever people start asking questions about stuff like this, the internet gets flooded with fake conspiracy theories to distract and discredit real discussions. What if the real space race isn't about Mars or the moon? What if it's about building something they don't want us to know about? The Michael Jordan conspiracy. What's your take, Reddit? I was watching ESPN's 30 for 30 last night, and they had an episode on MJ's retirement to go and play baseball. During the show, they had talk about the conspiracy that he was actually suspended by the league or ran out due to the gambling. There is also speculation that his gambling habits could have been a contributor to his father's death. Now, I had always heard about this rumor, but never put much thought into it. With how big of an icon Jordan was to not only the NBA, but to the world at that, I really don't blame people for thinking these things. Gambling issues. Could he have gambled on NBA games, and what kind of image would this have put on him in the league itself? Jordan made the NBA. His face and name brought the league so much money. Would the league want to jeopardize potentially losing this? Was his retirement a ploy by the league to distract the masses, let him go away for a few years and return when things seem to go back to normal?
He would no doubtly struggle in baseball, and people would be going from talking about how great he is to how lowly he is. He gets bad press in a different way, tarnishes his image enough, but not to the point that the gambling fiasco would have. Deaths around Jordan. James Bowler, drug dealer, was found dead with checks in his possession issued from Jordan. Eddie Dow was murdered, bail bondsman, with checks issued from Jordan. Jordan's father, of course, the theory is his dad's death was partially due to Jordan's compulsive gambling. You start getting in the wrong, and bad things start to happen to you and loved ones, no? Jordan comment at 1936 of the 3430 video. In an interview, Jordan goes on to state, "I've gotten myself into situations to where I wouldn't walk away. I pushed it, the envelope. Is that compulsive? And I guess it depends on how you look at it. If you're willing to jeopardize your livelihood and your family, then yeah." Has anyone seen this interview, and does he go on to claim that he is not a compulsive gambler, or did he basically just admit to that he has put his life and his family's life at risk due to his habits? I don't see how anyone can dismiss the idea because of two things. Jordan announced his retirement 3 days before the NBA concluded an investigation into his wagering and found no violation of league rules, so I do think there was a deal made to keep Jordan's good name out there. Personally, yes. Then Jordan made the comment, "If the urge comes back, if the Bulls will have me, if David Stern lets me, I may come back." If David Stern lets you come back, why would he be the only one who has to let you come back? No one else was named, not Phil Jackson, not Jerry Krause, David Stern, and to say Jordan didn't gamble a lot seems just wrong. There was playoffs in Atlantic City. Google Richard Esquinas. He supposedly took 1.3 mil off Jordan in golf in a week, I think. And that was in 1991. Also, the man isn't a saint. He had numerous affairs on his wife. She filed for divorce, but in my opinion, pulled back because of money. When they finally got their divorce, she got paid like no one else. I don't know this to be a fact, but I'm sure it was hush money to never tell anything like Tiger's wife had in their divorce. Companies are taking advantage of us. Have you noticed that the quality of the tools and appliances that you purchase have continuously gone down throughout the years? Previously, a good pair of Levi jeans could last a lifetime, or a Hoover vacuum could work better and still work while your Dyson breaks down after a few years of use. The increased speed of companies creating products mixed with the lack of quality behind them proves that companies just want our money, simply because if the things they created were actually made for a lifetime, they would lose money. While they get richer, we spend more and more money on faulty cheap products, paying the bills for people who could care less about us. Greed runs the world, and it's only getting worse. Thoughts or any other examples you've seen? May I introduce you to Boots theory? The reason that the rich were so rich, Vimes reasoned, was because they managed to spend less money. Take boots for example. A really good pair of leather boots cost $50, but an affordable pair of boots which were sort of okay for a season or two and then leaked like hell when the cardboard gave out cost about $10. But the thing was that good boots lasted for years and years. A man who could afford $50 had a pair of boots that'd still be keeping his feet dry in 10 years time, while a poor man who could only afford cheap boots would have spent $100 on boots in the same time and would still have wet feet. This was Captain Samuel Vimes' Boots theory of socioeconomic unfairness. This is why Dollar Tree and such are popular. People would rather buy 10 of something over a year than buy one that could outlast that 10-item cycle. This has been going on for a long time. Once companies stopped manufacturing their own products and started having lower wage, third-party workers and businesses make their products for them. They only focus on profitability. That's all they care about. I work in manufacturing. I made a high-end product that would last generations and was the #1 seller in the country. The Chinese came in and dropped the price so low it was impossible to compete with higher quality. Sure, we still had some loyal customers and new ones that bought into the idea of paying more for better quality, but most of the market doesn't care at all and will buy the cheapest shit possible and love it. Look at Main Street and then Walmart and Amazon and now Dollar Store, whatever Temu, AliExpress crap, it's just race to the bottom. Our market share crashed, and even with small business at a higher price, we had to shut down all local production. We went manufacturing overseas to produce to our quality standards, and then a few years later exited the market altogether. Other companies like us have had their brands sold to whatever manufacturers wanted to private label the crap. But this is what the consumer wanted. They did not want quality. 90% will buy whatever is the lower cost. They wanted more and more and more rather than a smaller amount of something better. Supersize the extra large fries with that economy. Is it possible that Prince Andrew had Princess Diana killed? This is a throwaway account because I don't think I have ever thought of something so bizarre. But what if Prince Andrew had Diana killed because of his horrible crimes included in the Epstein case? I was reading the news and I figured there's no way the royal family wouldn't find out, right? Then I questioned if they did know, what would they even do? Then it occurred to me that the only royal I can think of who constantly spoke her mind was our beautiful Princess Diana. Then I thought about her death, which was so unclear. To be honest, it may have truly been an accident. The driver displayed signs of intoxication, the paparazzi were rushing them, and they were not wearing seatbelts. I always been kind of on the fence about it, but I found it strange that the paparazzi didn't call an ambulance immediately. I understand that it made their photos famous, but honestly, would you kill the princess for money? I don't know what caused them to take the job, if it even was a job to start with, and how they knew they would get away. Again, I want to reiterate, this was just a fleeting thought, and I'm not going to die on this hill. Then I thought, if something horrific happened, like what happened to Miss Choufray, who would want to tell? Personally, I assume I would find speaking to a woman slightly easier. Men and women can sexually assault. We also know that in the Epstein case, his partner was also a SA abuser. I am not saying women do not do such horrific things, as we know this does occur. Preferably someone with influence who could help me, but not someone who would be directly taken down by the crimes, such as related family members. I don't imagine it was a victim who would report it to Diana, but I am assuming she heard from word of mouth. There's no doubt in my mind that if she knew, she would not keep quiet. Does this really line up? Let me show you the math. Miss Choufray, now 38, claimed the Duke, 61, essayed her on 3 occasions when she was 17 at Ghislaine Maxwell's home in London. Note, I don't like their use of word claimed, but we are moving on from that. There's photographic evidence. I found this on the BBC website. Article: Prince Andrew settles U.S. civil sex assault case with Virginia Choufray. Feel free to follow the link if you would like to fact check me. 38 minus 17 is 21 years. I'm posting this in 2025, so that means this happened in 2004. Princess Diana died in 1997, which is only a 7-year difference. Know that Andrew committed this crime at the age of 40. I estimate that Miss Choufray was not his first victim. From watching crime documentaries, I understand that crimes of such caliber are not a natural start but can take years to build up. I hope he had no other victims, but if he unfortunately did, do you think it's possible? Do you think Princess Diana could have found out? And if she did, do you honestly think she wouldn't try to stop him? Do you think a man who would do such a disgusting and heinous thing would be below ordering the death of someone who was not even blood? Do you think he would even flinch if it came to the world learning about his disgusting, depraved crimes? I would be interested to hear your thoughts. What is one ridiculous but plausible theory / hypothesis you heard about Mesoamerican civilizations? That the Mesoamericans had an intricate understanding of energy and water cycles in the natural world. There is an image of the sun god scooping up water from the sea, a sign the ancient Maya understood the concept of oceanic evaporation as the source of most clouds. The idea of debts and repayment in Mesoamerican cosmology. Death was the ultimate payment of the debt of life, and this correlates to the fact that our base components like carbon and proteins will be recycled upon our deaths back into the world. Neither energy nor matter can be created or destroyed, only transferred. This is also why sacrifices to the sun may have become so important in central Mexico, at least. The transfer of energy from the sun to earth is a one-way process. This might have been very concerning to the Mesoamericans if they had recognized this, as it would mean that eventually the sun would eventually run out because nothing is given back to the sun without human assistance. One that used to be considered ridiculous was pre-Columbian trans-Pacific contact until modern analysis of both the sweet potato and human Polynesian genetics proved that it happened at least once. Aztec and Inca traded. Maya developed navigation, Chinese or other culture contact. I definitely know about the Aztec/Inca trading. The video game Shadow of the Tomb Raider actually explored that idea and established that one of the lost cities in Inca myth was literally that a mixture of Mayan, Aztec, and Inca people, basically hid from the rest of the world for 600 years. Obviously, media about lost cities or lost civilizations usually tackle that fringe idea, but it's unique. My favorite is that Mexicas, Aztecs for the gringos, were from the Polynesian Islands, not from North America, and the proof is that in the Aztec calendar and the Maoris, New Zealand, both stick out their tongue to greet. Also that Mexicas were known to be outsiders from central Mexico. This theory is more developed in the class of Enrique Dosso, Filosofía Política de América Latina. I've heard of different variations of that theory, from the idea that our ancestors may have taken the sea route instead of the land bridge of the Bering Strait to other races in Hawaiian folklore might be evidence of other cultures/peoples meeting the ancestors of Hawaiians. That somehow connects to Olmec/Mayan mythology, and that's the tip of the iceberg. In general, we're still learning a lot about Mesoamerica. Just recently, we found a temple. You can think America unearthed.